And now to some great news for businesses. Safaricom is transforming business operations through tailored Talk More plans and Browse More plans available for corporate postpay. The customized plans are built for corporate needs and provide total control on how your business uses voice and data, whether you choose more minutes for frequent stuff or customer calls, or allocate extra data for remote work and online collaboration for your staff. This enables you to customize plans to suit your business operational needs. Get your preferred corporate postpay. And with that, I want us now to have a discussion here with the bench. Sheila is here, as well as Gabriel and Nelson. We had started off with the conversation about IPO and, of course, what will be happening with the compensation claims. But let's now transition a little bit, because we've also had a week of the president speaking about what he's been able to attain. Before we get to the details, Sheila, what do you think has been the performance of the Kenya Kwanza administration?
It's a very tough question. Depends on, it's the common mwananchi's time to speak now. Then we'll hear the official government position. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because from my perspective as an economist, we are going through an economic revolution. I don't really, for me, it doesn't matter how you want to place it here or there. Yeah. We've had some issues that did not start with this administration. So sometimes it's always important to contextualize it. So that we don't expect a magic wand to, to fix the issues that are going on. Right. Right before Kenya Kwanza came in, we knew that we had a youth problem, in that we were going to have a very big percentage of the population that was young. Therefore, we were going to have unemployment issues. We had a huge debt problem. We had a huge corruption issue. And so these are things that the Kenya Kwanza administration walked in knowing very well that, in fact, during the campaign time, there was the issues of bottom-up. There was the issues of, let's now go back to the common mwananchi, and really that tone, which was a message that was honestly, even for me, it was very well received, because I thought, okay, the best way that we're anticipating that we will have an economic crisis. Right. So now we need to work on odious debt, corruption, try to stimulate the economy. So far, what I have seen is that as much as we are trying to streamline, and I'm not going to give the economic part before I go into the human rights problem. Right. But so far, it is trying to streamline the macroeconomic indicators. So we talk about inflation rates. That bei ya unga, it was 200. Now the bei ya unga is, it's going down. And the government is really kudos for working on the macro indicators. But why is there still issues on the ground? It is because of the micro indicators. And my worry is that, I don't know, Gabriel is here, he will tell us today if there's a plan to actually work on the micro. So it's always a question of purchasing power. Even if I put unga at 50 shillings today, right, if you do not have the 50 shillings in your pocket, it's a waste of time. Right. Even if today I stabilize the dollar, if we don't have anything that we are, exporting out there in order to earn the dollars back in, then it won't make a difference. I worry a lot about also our economic priorities when I look at our budgets. Last year, the allocation for development was at about 16%. Right? Ideally, a country like Kenya should focus having at least 35% of our budget going into development. This year, we've actually, I saw that it was even pushed down to 9%. So we are borrowing more. Less is being allocated to development, because there's nothing wrong inherently with borrowing, as long as you're borrowing with a plan that you want to develop. We're also having, when you look at the budget and you see some allocations that really do not make sense, we're talking about IPOA now getting a little bit more money. When we had, for example, State House, whose budget has now gone up. So there's a lot of issues that, it would be good to have a bit of clarification. And just to understand, what is the plan to get money into the people's pocket? Because we know that people who are salaried, for example, are earning less right, today than they were right before the administration came in. And this is because of the housing plan, because of SHA, because of all these programs that are going on. What is the end goal to this? We are talking about capitation issues. Right. We are talking about this and that. So we've had that. We've also seen some sectors also going up at the same time, which is good. For example, I always tell them, you look at the coffee industry, for example, that is being streamlined, that is undergoing a transformation that we haven't seen before that is happening. So why don't we try and focus on how we are going to fix the microeconomic indicators, to put more money, stimulate it into Wananchi's pocket. And by the way, by that, I don't mean giving handouts.
For sure. Now, Nelson, you were part of the team that campaigned for the current regime. From your assessment now, how have they kept to the promises?
Sorry to say, it's a lost cause. Because we campaigned on a very simplistic, people-oriented agenda. Agribusiness, to ensure that people have food, sustainable food production, access to medical care, good education, employment opportunities and business opportunities. There has been a failure in this. Look at education, for instance, CBC. And what happens when teachers are called to go to State House? They don't mention the problems they have in school, lack of classrooms, lack of capacity to implement CBC. Instead, the head of the teachers goes there and says two-term. This shenanigan never even happened during the time of President Daniel Arap Moi. Ambrose Adair Dongo would never have done something stupid like this. Healthcare, where are we? If I was to talk to my landlord, Samuel Marwa, he said he voted for William Samoei Ruto, and he knows I'm William Samoei Ruto's friend. And he tells me, mzee, saa hii sitampigia huyu kura tena. You understand? I don't want to be his master's voice like my friend Gabriel Hill is. I just want to report what is happening. Nowadays, you will be afraid to call or speak to anybody in Westlands, because the other day I called Kweyu and asked Kweyu, how have you been since the last election? Then he said, I'm doing badly. I moved to Upper Hill. I'm now driving a taxi. Are you still running? I told him, yes, I'm still running. Could you please send me something for unga and milk? You see? Now, President William Samoei Ruto has even worsened the situation. And why is he worsening the situation? Because he's cognizant of the fact that he doesn't have universal acceptability from the people of Kenya. And that is the reason why he's conglomerating teams at State House. I wish he could call the doctors and the nurses, including my sister, who graduated with a degree in medicine, but has not been employed for the last 3 years. I wish he could call them to State House and tell them what he wants to do for them. I wish he could call the lecturers who have planned a strike to State House and tell them what he is planning for them. I wish he could call 20,000 Gen Zs to State House and tell them, this is what we planned for you, this is what we've achieved. You understand?
Yep.
And to that extent, I'm disappointed, and I've said time without number. I apologize most profusely to the people of Kenya. But you see, he who doesn't make a mistake never learns. This is an opportune moment for us to see to what extent there's been a failure of good governance by the people we put in office, and what is our responsibility to the people of Kenya insofar as this mistake is concerned. Can anything be done? Look, much will have been done because President William Samoei Ruto had the goodwill of the people of Kenya. In fact, sorry to say, he could have been equated to Captain Toure, because he came in as the people's president, as the hustler. And he manifested every facet of the hustler. But when he reached office, he jettisoned all those ideas, and there is credible merit in the fear that this administration is concealing public funds in brick and mortar everywhere, making it impossible to sustain education, healthcare, agriculture, and employment opportunities. There is a failure.
Gabriel, so you speak for the government. How do you see yourselves 3 years in?
You know, first of all, I'm shocked. I mean, Wakili, when did you stop believing in our dream? I mean, you helped craft it.
I woke up.
You know, my good Wakili here has mentioned a raft of things, and it's sometimes good to put things into perspective. I'm glad Sheila mentioned part of this journey, where we were and where we are today. And I told, I remember when we were with you last summer, I was telling you, to be fair, sometimes it's always good to look at where we were and where we are, so that we can all appreciate the journey that we've come. Wakili has mentioned, like I said, a raft of things. He has talked about healthcare, he has talked about food, he has talked about meeting hustlers, you know, not meeting hustlers, meeting Gen Zs in State House. And I just reminded you, I know you saw on TV, there was a time so many hustlers.
I never watch TV, I just come on TV.
Wakili, you can do better, you can do better. Yeah, start watching them. Then how would you know if you don't, you know, I know there's a way you get your news. So these things have been happening. You've talked about doctors. You remember last year, there was the strike, the doctor strikes. You remember there was the CBA that they were talking about. People sat down, they agreed, they ironed issues, and the doctors are, you know, back to work. So
my sister is still selling chicken in Angile. Why can't she be accommodated as a medical doctor?
That was, I'm talking about last year, and the interventions that were done. You know, when you talk Wakili, and sometimes I know you can be fair, it's always good to point out things that have worked and those that haven't. So when you say that the issue of teachers, which I agree with you, and through the verification process that we have seen, there has been issues, but look at what is being done. When you talk about agriculture and food in particular, me and you, I know we've read a great deal of history, and we know there are societies which have actually gone to the doldrums because of food, right? And look at the intervention that was done. It's just the other day, a few years back, removed from our current sitting, that people are walking across town with bakulis and sufurias. What were they talking? What were they agitating for? It was unga. And I know that topic will never leave us, you know, but is a very clear intervention that was done today. We have, and I know you have this data, because I told Sam the other day, for the first time in history, we have 76 million bags of maize. You tell me if that is not progress. And Wakili, I mean, we know, I don't think we'll ever arrive. And sometimes I think, I feel we do a disservice to ourselves. Sheila, will never arrive to a stage where we will have a hooray moment. Success when building a nation is very different. When somebody says, you know, I've succeeded to get something, or I've succeeded to build this thing. When it comes to building, or when it comes to developing a nation, the definition of success is very different, because we don't have a hooray moment. Things must be subjected to a progressive advance.
Are you confusing figures there? You said 76 million bags of maize.
Yes.
I thought the statement I saw from the president was 67 million.
What I saw, what I heard is 76 million. We can check the figures, obviously.
Yeah.
It's usually some. But, I know you're very good with.
But also, I
know you're very good with figures. So I'm always very careful when I throw figures.
That's not the point.
You see that thing you hold there? I don't have my figures yet, but I can check. Let's not fight about
also,
the figures.
the
it shows you. It shows you.
It's
the highest sum. It's the highest in history. Just look, finish that thing on Unga. So I was telling you, we have to subject things on a progressive advance. Yes, there have been challenges. That's what we will be talking about. Okay. But if you look at the roadmap, you have to accept we were not where we used to be. That is why we don't have people putting on sufurias and going across town talking about unga. So in general, and I know we're going to speak about some of these things today. I am glad. I am really glad.
I asked you a question, how government sees itself on your performance for the last 3 years.
No. I told you.
So apart from
actually,
maize,
we are actually heading in the right direction. The interventions that we've done, Sam, whether it's housing, and this is why I believe we are going to talk about this in the course of this sitting, whether it's housing, what we promised, we've already kick-started, Just look at the number of youths today when we talked about employment. And I know I was in a bar yesterday where the conversation was, why can't you just get jobs here locally?
Okay.
Why, you know, it became a very toxic conversation because somebody believed that Kenyans should not go outside the country, you know? And I was trying to tell them.
No, we're having this conversation.
Yes. No. I was saying
not that
Kenyans should not. Yes, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Somebody was believing, I mean, probably they are watching us tonight, and somebody was believing Kenyans should not leave because we should create employment here. And I was telling them, we are doing everything possible. And even the interventions that we've done on employment, it is not where we are. It is not where we were 3 years ago.
Okay.
So if you want a clouded direction of where we are going, Sam, I can tell you, we are heading in the right direction.
Okay, all right, Gabriel, I'll come back to you for more. Sheila, you're becoming uncomfortable.
No, I wanted to make a clarification, Gabriel. We're not looking for a hooray moment. That would not be a meaningful discussion. Just like you said, we are looking at progress.
Correct.
And I love numbers.
Correct.
So for me, numbers don't lie. That's why I started by saying, look at the inflation rate when you started, and look at the inflation rate 3 years later. And then I give you the devil is always in the detail.
Correct.
As I said, you're working on the inflation rate, but you are disabling the purchasing power. So then you have a counterbalance of that. When you talk about youth and employment, Sam, the numbers are very clear. Kenya Bureau of Statistics offers all these numbers very clearly. When you look at the number of unemployment or the number of youth, you're now moving to about 75% of this population will be under the age of 35.
Correct.
So even if you wanted to send them, that's why my question is always, what is the plan? Because even if you wanted to offer opportunities away, you cannot empty 75% of the
I agree. By the Sheila, I'm with you. I'm 100%. Yes. No, I'm agreeing with her, which is good. I'm agreeing with her.
Very good. So when I say as a young person that I'm frustrated, Gabriel, I'm frustrated because the answers are not rocket science. The other day I saw the president saying, I'm trying to emulate Singapore. I studied the Singaporean economy.
Yes, I did.
You did too. Yeah. So you know very well that the economic plan, that they were very intentional about what they were doing.
As we are, Sheila, as we are.
Yeah, so that's why I was asking, so what is the plan here? Because it's been 3 years now. Now we've gone past the half mark, right, as we're proceeding. So, for example, we had Singapore. Singapore decided we don't have a lot of resources. We're a small country. We're going to focus on the service industry, and therefore everybody, we need to focus on education, invest well in education. It was quite intentional as we go. What are the drivers of the economy in Kenya today?
I think Sam is the one who should be asking the question, but I can take that question.
Okay, we're having a discussion here. Let her finish.
When we look at the drivers of the economy of this country, we start with agriculture.
Correct.
Then we move to service. Then you ask yourself, what fuels the agricultural industry, right? What fuels the service industry, right? You have, for example, I'll focus on service because a lot of young people are affected by service.
True.
Education is one of them. You have to have a strong education, which Singapore did, by the way. They had a very strong, because they were intentional about working on the service industry. So you have to make sure your education is intact. You have to make sure your healthcare system is working seamlessly, right? Now, the issue that we're discussing today, and Gabriel, please, every time we do this, it's because, at least for me, I stick to the issues because I love this country. I don't want to go anywhere. I've studied abroad. I've done all those things. I want to stay here. So it's in my best interest that we find a solution. So when you look at the service industry in Kenya, for example, what is the plan? Because not all of us young people can be taken today and be flown abroad. We want an education system that actually works. We want a healthcare system that provides that we are safe and we are secured. And so I'm curious to hear, Sam, the plan.
Right.
With numbers. So it's not like we're expecting an instant, a quick instant fix.
All right. And then we'll get deeper into those conversations because also there are several programs that Gabriel, you brought out, as well as Sheila, saying the impact they've had on people's pockets. But for you, you're talking about the impact they've had on the economy and perhaps the future of this country and the implementation of the plan, the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza that Nelson Harvey really campaigned for, but now regrets. We're back in a moment.
He's not
Stay tuned. We're back in a moment.